Hi ho. I am Russian bear Igraglas, and this is
Штукенция.
Russian Beauty.
Russian Beauty.
She got her own YouTube channel, Russian Beauty. Link in the description, you could check.
Meow.
And today we would talk about traveling around Russia and visiting different cities. Right now we are on travel, and we are originally from Moscow, but now we are at the mountains. At the south of Russia, in Sochi.
Yeah.
In Sochi, in Krasnaya Polyana. In English it would be
Красная Поляна. Так и
Krasnaya
будет.
Polyana.
Yeah.
Okay.
I searched for this name and it's called Красная
You
Поляна.
could translate it to the Red Valley.
Oh, Red
Something
Valley.
like this. So
Or maybe Beautiful Valley.
actually, we both, while we studied in university, we were on field faculty,
Yeah, soil
Together.
science.
the soil science, ecology, and we had several expeditions.
Mm-hmm.
So we traveled around Russia quite a lot. And Russia, it's very big country, you know.
Oh, yeah, really? Is it?
So I think we visited like maybe 5% of Russia, like approximately, but it's still quite a lot.
Where have you been in Russia?
I'll count from Moscow. So from Moscow I went to the north up to 400 kilometers, not much, to the Tver, to the Vyshny Volochyok. Then to the south I went to Volgograd, and it's Caspian Sea, and to right now we are to Sochi. It's Black Sea, so it's the farthest points. We are talking about Russia, not the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then I traveled to the east, to the Baikal Lake, biggest lake in the world, Baikal Lake, and to the west. I traveled also visited several cities.
Smolensk.
Yeah,
And also you visited Kaliningrad.
yeah, also Kaliningrad.
I forgot the name.
Kaliningrad, it's very interesting place. It's former Königsberg. After World War II, Russian USSR get this small piece of land which was surrounded by other countries, by Poland, so by Germany. So this Königsberg I also visited, and this is a very beautiful place with Baltic Sea. So yeah, I love it.
So you have seen a lot of seas
Yeah,
and lakes and some cities of Russia.
yeah.
And I have a question for
Mm-hmm.
you. Some people say that there is Moscow in Russia and there is other Russia. So you're from Moscow and you visited other cities. Can you say that Moscow is very much different from other Russia or not?
Actually, by the way, I visited several times St. Petersburg.
Oh, okay.
St. Petersburg, and it's much more farther than Tver. Yeah.
Okay.
So Moscow, it's a very different place, but also St. Petersburg, it's also like super different from Moscow and from other places. So you could say that I think it's like in all countries. Small towns and big cities, they're different. Life, they're different. They're different people. For example, in USA, they have a lot of states, and each state it's like different country. So but in Moscow there are a lot of differences. Starting from money, people live much more wealthier in Moscow. They got huge salaries compared to other Russia. Also, people in Moscow, they are very hasty.
Hasty, what is
Hasty.
that?
They all people always on on speed. They running somewhere.
Okay.
So if you compare St. Petersburg and Moscow, St. Petersburg it's super calm people, super calm town, city, and Moscow it's very dynamic, fast. So it's like capitalism. Moscow it's capitalist city, very much. And for example, St. Petersburg it's cultural city.
And what about Sochi?
And Sochi, actually Sochi it's very strange city because it goes for 150 kilometers on the border of Black Sea, and Sochi consists of several, they call it districts, but actually it's not districts, it's separate towns. And Krasnaya Polyana, where we are right now, with this beautiful mountains, it's also it's very different from Sochi, from Adler, from all these districts of Sochi. So actually it's like, I think it's like artificial city. There is original Sochi, and all other cities, it's not Sochi actually. People who live there, they call it like, it's big Sochi and small Sochi and original Sochi. So it's very different. It's very, I can't say that. Okay, some stuff in Sochi, you could see that people here, they live because of tourists, and everywhere the main goal is to create conditions for tourists. So it's like characteristics of this place.
And do you like Sochi?
Yeah, Sochi, I like nature here. But actually, I do not like tourism services here, because in Turkey, for example, they're much cheaper and better service. Actually, service is a huge problem of Russia. It came from USSR, and in USSR we had a lot of good stuff, like our science, our culture, like Vysotsky and others. But in USSR also we had very bad service, and it's because people, they do not like their place in their life. So I mean, like a lot of people in Russia work on jobs which they do not like. They do not really suited for them. So for example, people who sell stuff in the shops, for example in the Netherlands, which I visited, like I lived there more than 2 years, like 3 years. In the Netherlands, people who working in the shops, in most of them it's the students, and for them it's good life experience, and also it's good money for the start. But in Russia, not much students works in the shops. In Russia, it's people who like work in the shops for whole their life, and they do not like this job, most of them. That's why every time when you come to the typical Russian shop, it's not really pleasant experience. So it's bad things which we had as a heritage from USSR, but also we had good things as a heritage, of course, as always. And yeah, the best thing in Russia, it's nature for me. Second thing important which I saw in travel and I like, it's history and architecture, like cultural layer, because it's quite deep, and especially if you know a bit of Russian history. So, and I like Russian history very much. I studied on purpose, and every place in European part of Russia got very rich history and a lot of interesting places to visit.
And what advice would you give to foreigners which would like to visit Russia? Would you advise them to go to Moscow or to go to Sochi, or what to do? Is it safe to travel here?
It's safe to travel here, but you should take precautions. Certain
What?
Precautions.
What is it?
Предосторожность.
Okay.
You should be careful, as in most of the countries like Turkey, for example, it's kind of going to Russia, going to Turkey, it's kind of the same. I mean, the same level of safety. Or yeah, like Eastern European countries also. It's kind of close to Russia, but not all places. Yeah, in Russia we have like big cities. There, most of them are quite safe. It's all right. And the smaller city you go, some of these cities they could be could have dangerous places. We could call it like this. And actually, in Russia, most of Russians, and I want to talk about it in separate video. Actually, we are quite high primitive culture, I'll say. So I mean, we could be aggressive sometimes. So, and me too. I mean, I feel this thing inside of me sometimes. So our emotions, we are very straightforward. We are very emotional, and straightforwardness plus emotion, it could appear like aggression, but at the same time it could be super hospitality. So it's like in Russia, in Moscow where we live, we have super hot summer and super cold winter. And Russians actually they are like this. They could be super good and super bad, super hospital and super aggressive. So it's extreme place. It's a very extremal place. I think Russia. What is the main characteristic of Russia? I think it's like this superiority, but not superiority like we're the best, but like everything on the maximum points, good and bad, super good and super bad, the best and the worst. We all have this in our country, and it could be interesting to see. Yeah.
So if I'm American girl,
Okay.
or German, I don't know where you're from, tell us, Indian girl, and I would like to visit Russia. Russia is so big, so what should I do? How to understand Russia? How to visit? How to travel in Russia? I don't know what to do.
It depends. Depends what you want, because you could have everything in Russia. You could start even from like temperature. Do you want to have like hot, average, or cold temperature? Like some people they like when it's not hot. Then you could go to the north, to Archangельsk. If you want to see Russia, all parts of Russia, like very different Russia.
I want to see typical Russia.
Typical, very different, like all pieces.
Yeah, to understand Russia.
I think Moscow is quite a good place, but I think like Moscow and Saint Petersburg.
Okay.
So these two cities will give you quite good example of what is Russia, I think. But of course it would be nice to go also to the north, to Archangельsk, to the south, to the Sochi, to Vladivostok, to the east.
Okay, I have to spend all my money.
Yeah, to the Ekaterinburg,
to travel across
to the Ural mountains, to see, because people they live very differently. The people on the east, like Vladivostok, Nakhodka, they are very different from.
And in general, how do Russians like foreigners?
I had a video about it.
Okay.
In general, Russians quite hospitable to foreigners. I mean, for a lot of Russians, foreigners, they are like, it's historically, when Russian, I had a video about Russian history, when Russia established, it's established as a country which started along the rivers, and through these rivers went a lot of ships, trading ships from south to north, and people there who live in, their first like steps to the state to become a country was to be hospitable to these people. So it's like people, traders, they loved to go through this trading road because people there, Russian people, we could say like Slovenian people who live there, they were very hospitable. So it's like historical, really traditional thing, Russian hospitality. And I didn't meet it in other countries. I mean, we went to the Netherlands, to Japan, to a lot of different countries. And yeah, I think Russians were like the most hospitable people. I mean, it's not because people, Dutch people or people from Japan, they are not hospitable. I mean, like in Russia, it's ultra hospitality. It's like, yeah, as I said, it's everything on maximum. So it's quite, I mean, if you go to the touristic places, of course, people will try to fool you. People will try to get your money. But if you communicate with common people, you would find very warm and good conversations, and yeah, a lot of help.
What Russian words I should learn to say to Russian people so they would be hospitable to me?
Yeah, it's very good. In all countries, I think it's a good idea to learn some words, but in Russia, it's especially good.
Okay.
I mean, in some, for example, when we were in the Netherlands or in Japan, it was like we tried also to speak in foreign language, but it was like it was funny.
It didn't help much.
It didn't help much. But in Russia, actually, when foreigners speak something in Russian, it would help you a lot. I mean, people would like it very much. It's like super very much they would like it.
What should I say?
Like common words like "Здравствуйте," "hello," something. Just learn basic. I could
Would
make
you make
a
video?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, make a video, please.
Okay, I'll make
with Russian bad words, good words.
Actually, it's one of my big hobbies to study language, Russian language, and I mean to study origins of Russian words. It's like I love it very much. So maybe.
So you're a linguist.
I'm not. It's like I'm out like this linguist. So maybe it's good idea for me to try and teach you Russian. I don't know.
Yes, do it, please.
Okay. So people, why people like when you speak Russian? You know, Russian people, they have very interesting characteristics. When you walk on the street and you see people around, or in metro or in the bus, at first look, you look at them and they could be quite unfriendly. They look very sour, like very grim. But when you would start conversation with any of such people, after one or two phrases, this person would like flourish. This person would become very kind. It's very strange Russian feature. I'm Russian and I'm still can't get used to it. That people, before you start to talk with them personally, before you would start a conversation and start to like discussing something, they're very grim. They're very like not smiling, not friendly. But when you start conversation, the farther you go, the more friendly they would be. So actually, if you would speak something in Russian, it would just reduce this time to the friendly, because it's like all people, except maybe these touristic people who trade something to tourists. They're always like smiling. It's their job, and it's not typical Russian at all. So if you want to learn typical Russian people, just talk with these common people, not to these touristic guys. They are not Russians. They do not behave Russian. You wouldn't feel it.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting.
Yes, that's true.
So please tell us some thoughts. Write comments. You could write not one comment, but a lot of comments. Each comment for each topic which we discussed today, and also propose topics for the next videos.
And tell us, have you traveled across Russia? Have you been somewhere in Russia? And how do you like it?
Do you want to go somewhere?
Yes, and which places you would like to visit?
What do you expect? So waiting for your comments. See you.
Bye.